Should you pay off your mortgage faster or invest the difference? It might be the biggest money decision you ever make as a homeowner. And financial experts will tell you investing always wins. But the truth is, it really depends. Because the right move for one homeowner can actually be a disaster for another. And there's actually a simple way to find out which one you are. And I know this because I'm a mortgage expert who's helped over 500 families make this exact call in every type of market. And it all comes down to 5 questions. Answer them honestly, and the right move becomes pretty obvious. And just one of them can actually flip your entire decision. Now let's talk about these financial experts. They only talk about one part of the equation, right? That's not the full part of the equation. It's like, oh yeah, what's gonna be your IRR, your cash on cash return, what's your return on investment, what's your assets under management, when you're 100, right? But life isn't just about numbers. If it was, then technically we would be wasting all our money eating out, seeing friends, spending time with family, or having, a Spotify subscription, because all of that costs money and time. Now you're watching this video right now and you're probably eat out a little bit, just like me. You probably see your friends a little bit, just like me. You probably see your family too, right? So you probably have some sort of subscription as well. And the reason why you have those is because there's like an appraisal that you do in your mind with the cost of it and the value that you get, right? This is why I actually made this framework for every client before they make this decision, so that way they get an accurate picture. And ironically, I call it the picture framework, all right? And your goal is to create a beautiful picture. And that way you are able to look back and be like, wow, I had a pretty good life, right? And that's the goal, right? So remember that picture frame, right? One half of the picture is your financial picture. So that's what's your net worth? How much money do you have saved up at the end of everything? And what's your return on investment in your portfolio? The other half of the picture is the personal picture. And you need both of them to be clear before you make this call of invest the difference or pay off your mortgage faster. Think of it like yin and yang, right? You need both sides. Without one, the other one doesn't exist. And you also can't like hang a picture with half of it, right? You need both. Then all you need to do is go through the list of questions that I'm gonna go over, and it's a simple scoring system. You'll have points for investing your money, and you have points for paying off your mortgage. And at the end of it, you wanna tally them all up, and the one with the highest points, whether it's paying off your mortgage or investing, that's the path that I would recommend you take a step towards. Now, the goal of this framework is to get directionally correct. Then we course correct as we get more information, right? Remember, trying to make a perfect decision equals no decision made at all, AKA analysis paralysis, AKA I've also lived this before. So I want you to answer these honestly because it only benefits you. So question number 1, what do you want to have happen? The reason why I want you to start with this question first is because 1, it's a powerful question. And 2, it's just like a GPS. You need to have a destination to know what you need to do with the car. What direction do I need to point it? How much gas do I put on the gas pedal? How much do I brake? All that stuff, right? So right now, what I hate about these financial experts online is they say, hey, you got extra money, you should pay off your mortgage, or you should invest the difference. But they actually haven't established what do you actually want to have happen? Like, what's your actual goal? Now think about it this way. I'll use an analogy, right? Like traveling for vacation. If my goal is to drive from California to Texas and I want to go to Dallas or Austin, as an example, that's a completely different route from going from California to Eugene, Oregon, right? So you always want to start with the end in mind. So I'll give you some examples of what do I mean by what do you want to have happen? And hopefully this gets the juices flowing, right? First is I want to do whatever it takes to set up my kids to be happy and successful in life. Next is, I don't plan on having kids, so I want to be able to retire early and be able to travel the world with my partner. So this next one is more of a passion thing, right? I really like doing X, Y, Z thing. Maybe it's fitness, hiking, playing chess or something like that, right? So I want to have my day built around X, Y, Z thing, okay? Now answer one more question after you figured out what do you want to have happen, which is what is required to get closer to that goal? Does it require basically a bigger pile of money? So more money, right? Or would it be easier if I had a smaller monthly bill? If your goals need a bigger pile of money, +1 for investing your money, right? Think like traveling, leaving money behind for your kids, buying properties. Those all take cash, and a paid off house doesn't, you can't spend off a paid off house, right? Next is, if your goal is you want to have a smaller bill, +1 for paying off your mortgage. Think of this like working less, taking the job you actually want, even though it pays less, or going down to one income, or just, being able to sleep better at night. Because the fastest way to need, less money is to owe less money. And if you're sitting there and you're not sure which one it is, I would say 0 points for both. And that's okay if you chose this, right? It means that your goal isn't clear enough to steer you in one direction or the other. And that's totally fine, because the next questions are going to be a little more black and white. And remember, the goal is to get directionally correct. The goal is not a perfect decision. So question number 2, what did you do the last time the market dropped? So I love this question because, like Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. So how did you perform basically under pressure? What better way to answer this by actually looking retroactively in the past at how you acted when the stock market went down or the real estate market dropped, right? Like if you're in your 40s or 50s or even older, what did you do in 2008 when both markets went down the drain? What about March 2020 when the market dropped like 30% in a month? What about the tariff sell-off in April 2025? What did you do in those situations? And here's, the other thing to think about is, if you had the extra money, would you actually invest the difference? Do you have the discipline? It's almost like if I had ice cream in the freezer, right? Would you have enough discipline to not eat the ice cream? For me, I would not. Hence why I try my best to not have ice cream in the fridge. Therefore, I can't overdo it on desserts, right? So do you have the discipline? Okay. Now let's move on to the points section, which is, if you're able to stay level-headed, stuck with the plan without doing a massive sell-off, and you have the discipline to invest the difference, that is +1 for investing your money. If you weren't level-headed, maybe there's a little panic, maybe it caused a little anxiety, so you couldn't focus on enjoying life or focus on work or focus on the family, right? Then I would say +1 for paying off your mortgage, because you have a more certain outcome. Because remember, a 30-year fixed mortgage or a 15-year fixed mortgage, every single month you pay extra principal. That's a mathematical outcome of how much interest you save at the end of it. All right, so real quick, if you're stuck wondering if you're actually ready to buy a home or not, that's actually why I built the free homebuyer readiness quiz. There's no credit pull, takes less than 30 seconds, and it's something that I wish I would have had when I was buying my first home. It's like, hey, are you actually ready? No, here's like 2 or 3 things to work on. Here's a video to solve that constraint, and then you can move on to the next step. It's my free gift to you, because remember, the most prepared buyers get the best deals. And also, if you wanted more like a custom one-on-one plan, that's actually why I have the free guidance call down below. Feel free to schedule in there, where you actually get to chat with me one-on-one, and I get to figure out, okay, these are the 3 things that I would work on. And it's more customized and tailored to your specific scenario. And if it makes sense, maybe we can be your mortgage advisor too. So question number 3, have you grabbed the easy money and the easy time? So think about this question as almost like have you attacked all the low-hanging fruit from a money perspective and then from a time perspective. The reason why I'm mentioning time as well, because I feel like a lot of experts forget, if you think about it, the reason why you're saving money or making money generally is to buy back time of some sort. Like let's say, for example, you want to go on more vacations. That means you need the money to buy the time to go to that vacation, right? It's kind of like money is some sort of unit of time when you just boil it down, right? So if you're trying to optimize for time, have you actually bought back as much easy time as possible? So here's some examples for easy money, and then I'm gonna go with time, okay? So for easy money, have you paid off like all your credit card debt, right? Which credit cards are usually around 20%. And by paying that off, you get pretty much a 20% return, right? You were -20, back down to 0, right? So +20 gain. And then if you have an employer match, if your employer matches your retirement contributions, that's like easily 50 to 100% returns. That's pretty cool, depending on how much you contribute, right? But at least maximize the match if your employer allows it. Next is HSA, which is a health savings account. They call it, the triple threat, right? Money goes in pre-tax, it grows tax-free, and then comes out tax-free for medical costs. Basically, it grows fast, right? And this one I'm going to add as a little bonus. It's emergency funds. Do you have at least 6, 9, or 12 months depending on your income? 6 months for salary, 9 months if you're self-employed, and then 12 months if you're a business owner, right? So if you have that, then you can start investing. But if you don't, make sure you create that first. Now, moving on to the easy time section. So have you bought back the hours that you hate? Okay, so I'm gonna admit something a little weird here. I actually enjoy washing the dishes, right? So when I was younger, my parents owned a restaurant and I was working there, early on. And for some reason, just putting, my music on, wired headphones at the time, right? Technology, right? But yeah, I felt like I was in the zone. I was locked in, right? And when I was washing the dishes, I was spraying the machine, throwing it in there, pulling the washer thing down. It was a industrial kitchen, of course, right? So I actually enjoyed that, but I definitely don't like cleaning the house just in general, mowing the lawn, etc. So it might be that you delegate the task or or you hire somebody, the task that you don't like to do, right? Maybe it's mowing the lawn. Maybe you're making $20 an hour and you can pay someone else $10 an hour, right? Good trade on your time, right? Next is, have you used the vacation days that you already have, whether it's vacation or sick days, right? For paid time off, usually if you quit or you move to a different job, usually that gets paid out. But then sick time doesn't get paid out, so it doesn't roll over or it just disappears, right? Have you used all those hours just in general? Next is going to be renegotiate your schedule. Can you do 4 10-hour shifts? Very common in the aerospace industry, by the way, or at least having every other Friday off. So that way you get a 3-day weekend. Or can you work, 1 to 2 days from home? So that way you reduce your commute time so that we spend less time on the road, kind of just, driving through life, I should say. So have you bought back your time in that sense? So regarding the points, if you're leaving any employer match or HSA contribution, right? And you haven't funded that, that's +1 for investing your money in those accounts. If you're still paying PMI on a conventional loan, I would say +1 for paying off your mortgage, because that's a pretty good bang for your buck if you can get to 20% equity. And then if you already done all of these, like I mentioned in this section, then I would say +0 for both, neutral. All right, so real quick, if you're stuck wondering, am I ready to buy a house or not? That's actually why I developed the free homebuyer readiness quiz. It takes less than 30 seconds. There's no credit pull at all. And it's actually something I really wish I had when I bought my first house. You would have avoided a lot of mistakes. Because remember, the most prepared buyer gets the best deals. And if you have a constraint in the home buying process, I actually have a video for that specific constraint. You solve it, and then you move on to the next step. And also right below that, there's actually a guidance call. And that's if you wanted to have like more of a custom one-on-one conversation, because context is king, right? So if you had like a specific scenario or you aren't sure like what to do, I offer that free call. It's usually 15 to 20 minutes where I get to know your goals and I build the best path for you. And if it makes sense, maybe we can be your mortgage advisor too. All right, so question number 4 is, what's your mortgage rate? So let's say you have like a 2.5% interest rate. You're watching this and you refinance at the perfect time in like 2020. Whereas your portfolio has been on average 10+% returns. So the difference between those two rates is massive. But let's say you have a 6% mortgage rate, right? Mortgage rate, and then you have a 6% return on your portfolio. That's a harder coin toss. So here's my rule of thumb. So if you're below a 4% mortgage rate, whether that's right now or you refinance to that at some point, I would prioritize investing that money. If you're above 6% for your mortgage rate, I would lean more towards prioritizing paying off your mortgage faster, because you're going to have a high return on the interest savings that you save. It's almost like credit cards, right? Like, as a crazy example, they're usually at 20%. So if you pay that off, you get an automatic 20% return. And in my opinion, that's a pretty good return on investment. And then that leaves me to be, well, what if you're in the gray area? What if you're between 4 and 6%? That's kind of a coin flip. And obviously we'll talk about that during the point systems when we start adding everything up together, okay? So I want to also give an analogy to really drive the point home. So let's say you have job A with all commissions and bonus, right? There's no base salary or anything like that. Some years you're making 120,000, some years you're making 45,000, right? Over a long enough time horizon, the average for job A is 90,000, for example. Then you have job B, which is a guaranteed $70,000. and it's going to be the same every year, no matter what, the ups and downs, right? So why does job A pay more than job B? Is it because maybe the company is more generous, or maybe it's because it's more uncertain, meaning it's more risky to the employee in job A, so the extra money is to help offset the risk. So like I mentioned before, if you have below, regarding the point system, right? If you have below a 4% interest rate, that's +1 for investing. If you're above 6%, that's +1 for paying off your mortgage faster. And if you're between 4 and 6%, or you don't have a house yet, that would be +0 for that scenario. All right, question number 5. Can you actually get the money back out? Okay, because every dollar you send to the mortgage company, it's basically tied up in the house and it stops being your money, right? It becomes equity. And the equity is the hardest asset in the world to spend. So equity, just quick, crash course, is your current house value minus your loan balance. That's your equity, right? So there's basically 3 ways to get that money back out. Either you sell the house, you refinance and do a cash out, or you open up a second loan or a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, right? Kind of like a credit card for your house. Now, 2 out of those 3 things require the bank to say yes. That means you'll need income verification, credit check, debt to income ratio, and all that stuff. So I would think of it like this. Money in the market is like having cash in a jar, on the counter, right? You see it on the counter, but it's hard to access. You might have to pay a penalty if you take some money out early. Money in the house is like cash in a safe where the bank holds the only key to open it. And the only way to unlock it is if you check with the bank if you still have a job. So regarding the point system, ask yourself one thing. If your income stopped tomorrow, could you get the money without asking the bank for permission? If your income is unpredictable, self-employed, commissions, or one income supporting the household, or an industry that might be disrupted with AI, I would say +1 for investing your money, because you may need that money easy to be reached. If your income is stable and you already have real reserves or money left over in your bank accounts sitting outside of the house, that's +1 for paying off your mortgage. That means you could afford locking up some of that money in the house because you're not in a hurry to get the money out, right? And kind of as a quick side note here, for someone who has their money in a 401k and IRA, the money's locked up too until you're 59 and a half, okay? So if that's like your only account or your main account that you have all your money, I wouldn't give yourself a point for investing, because I promise I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life, but I want you to do a fair appraisal between the 2. Now, I covered a lot of different things, and it was probably a little confusing if you had to DIY it, right? Now, these things are things that I actually covered during our free guidance call that I actually help provide for home buyers to get closer to home ownership. So if it makes sense, we'd love to be your mortgage advisor. So if you're interested, check it out in the link down below. That's for the guidance call. And again, it's completely free. Alrighty, so we cover quite a bit. As always, I try to make the best videos in the mortgage education space. And also, check out this video right over here. I think you might like it. And as always, keep learning.